Jeez, it's taking a beating here. I should have shorted the crap out of it last night. 500 points higher. Could sold. All right, morning everyone. Let's kick it off. All right, in case you guys didn't know, there's a big strike price in the futures market at 43,500. We're watching a little bit of gamma going on right now, so future prices probably getting hit a little bit harder than you normally would think. There's a little bit of forced selling going on down here, and it could intensify. It's obviously the reason why we got hit really hard the other day, so if you're involved in the futures market, just be careful. All right, we had U.S. stocks that fell nicely for the first time in quite a long time yesterday. A little bit of a correction, probably just a little bit of profit taking, but you saw it kind of being led from the front the whole day with the VIX. VIX was up kind of 10% almost from the outset of the market, which only being down 5 or 6 points in the S&P was probably extreme levels, and we've started to turn the corner as we went throughout the day, and the VIX just really led from the front, so it was really telling and a great leading indicator on the day. We had 42 of 43 energy companies, the S&P 500 yesterday, that closed in the red with the oil price sell-off. We're down about 4% in the oil price yesterday. We're down again today about another 0.75%. So the other day where we saw the real rout here on our local market, we're seeing again now this morning, and it's obviously the start of it was led by mining stocks out of Australia. There's follow through obviously into our local market, and then that's triggered our the strike the gamma out of our strike levels at 43,500. So that's obviously making for an interesting day when we trade across that level. All right, getting into the Asian session, you can see that Shanghai managed to have a nice session. I think we were up over 3% at one point when I looked this morning. Shanghai is up well over 40% just in the last 6 months. So there's an absolute squeeze going on there, or a squeeze, or just a panic buying, I guess, to get involved after the interlinking of those markets. Hang Seng down again this morning, Tencent down heavy on the back of that, down over 2%. We've got the mining stocks in Australia, which obviously led Australia to the downside and was hit very hard again, over 1.5%. We've been talking about this. This is a long-term theme. This is not a short-term theme. If you've been sticking your toe in to buy on these mining stocks, you've either not been listening to our call or you've just been totally ignoring our advice. So just be patient. It's not a like we said, there will be bounces, but they're going to be probably short-term for further time to come. We're going to have to see complete capitulation before we really get a reverse higher, I think, out of some of these indexes. So then we saw the Japanese yen, which really peeled off the top. Actually, I'll have to look at the chart. I didn't look at the chart this morning. I don't think we got a key reversal, but we did get a reversal of sorts out of the yen. We're up around 121.75 on the yen this morning. We're all the way down at 119.80. So that's also a really good risk barometer and probably a great leading indicator at the moment, because all the guys that have the risk trade on are short the yen. And for me, one of the things I was talking with one or two of my guys about yesterday is how many people are actually not long the market for the year-end rally. I don't think that number is very big, and I think that's it's been so many years in a row now that we've seen the year-end rally work and play out, and it's going to be it's going to be interesting if we do get a correction, because I think everyone's in the same boat. So just keep that in mind out there. If we start to see a real significant pullback, it could really amplify itself due to the fact that everybody is probably long into this. Right. Interesting chart here out of Rhodium Group. We've got their thoughts on the winners and losers from the crash in the oil price that we've seen here, essentially. So obviously, there's the real big losers. But what's interesting to see is that who some of the winners are. So Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Venezuela, obviously hardest hit. The United Arab Emirates, Nigeria, and Russia. I'm actually surprised that Russia is not higher on that list, and I think maybe that it should be. But then we've got South Korea, funnily enough, who's actually the biggest benefactor, followed by India, Japan, Germany, China, and the U.S. So, obviously, this has huge impacts for some of these countries, as you can see by this chart. I think South Africa is actually probably a net benefactor out of this as well. So, can chalk them up on the list somewhere there on the top side. Right. If we look at this morning, we have Impala Platinum trading statement. Headline earnings per share expected to be more than 20% lower. The expectation is for that anyway. Drop due to lower production at Rustenburg and strike action at Marula. So I don't know what the market's going to take out of this. So anything can be a guess here. All right, we've got the market data this morning. We had machine tool orders out of Japan, much better than prior numbers. We have trade balance out of Germany as well as exports right at the open. Then we've got industrial production and manufacturing production out of the UK, as well as manufacturing production here locally at 1, and wholesale inventories in the States. Nothing today that's probably going to hugely drive equity markets. I think we'll be following more on the trade action, and like we said, we've got some big gamma levels there. If we go back above 43,500 in a little while, then we could really see another move to the upside as well. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's get into the maps. The first thing that we're going to have a look at this morning is the German DAX. We had talked about this a few times, so we essentially got a breakout from the previous highs to new all-time highs on the DAX on Friday's session. Yesterday we dropped that and we closed back below that level. That level's at about 10,035-ish, and so we dropped back below that level. One of the things I wanted to show here is, obviously all the markets are going to open lower this morning. I think FTSE futures are showing down about 40 points or so. The German market's obviously also going to open down, and sometimes some of these false breakouts here can be some of the biggest moves. Not to say that we can't regain this level and then trade back to the upside, over the next week, but if we do start to fail from here, a lot of those moves can be the most intense, and the reason why is because so many guys either cover shorts or get long on the back of that breakout, so then the positioning starts to become longer, and then when it doesn't play out, there's more of an unwind that happens. So it becomes vicious when you get the fake breakout and then you go back the other way, so just be careful there. All right, if we look at Standard Bank, we finally got the breakout from this inverse head and shoulder pattern that we talked about. Absolutely confirming that move. This sets us up to potentially take out new all-time highs in Standard Bank and really make a nice run into year-end. All the banking sector traded incredibly well yesterday, especially considering how bad the rand was. All right, Naspers. Tencent this morning off 2%. I know that the share hasn't been trading as closely correlated with Tencent as it had in recent time, but this level's held incredibly well. This is probably in terms of what the rand's doing and its breakdown in the rand's probably a great rand hedge at the moment, but it doesn't get priced in immediately. So if we hold on support here, this could potentially be a great little opportunity to nibble on some Naspers. The next one we'll have a look at here is Amplats. Amplats, I know we've shown this a couple times. It's kept coming down and testing the same sort of bottom end range. We finally broke out through the bottom of that yesterday. I'd peg that level around 346. We closed nicely below that at 43.30, and really kind of a broadening formation here that we've dropped out of. And if we don't regain that quickly, I think that we've got a lot of downside here, maybe as much as $40 in the Amplats in the near term. All right, look at Mr. Price. Mr. Price finally had a nice correction. I mean, this share just is impossible to ever catch on the short side, it seems like. But we've really had a big sell-off here, probably a lot due to the rand. Some of the shares, the mining, retail stocks holding up better than the others. If we zoom in here a little bit, it's got a little bit of a head and shoulder pattern going on right there. That's not classic, but maybe a little bit of a head and shoulder. But either way, we're dropping support, and I think Probably got lower lows on the cards, maybe somewhere in here to support closer to where we've bottomed out those previous few times, a major support around 194, 195, and the 200-day would probably be somewhere close to that if we get down there, which could line up really nicely. Next one I'm going to show is Aspen. Aspen making a little bit of a head and shoulder here. This year has just been literally impossible for it to come lower. It just seems to, even when our market's crashing, it just seems to hold up. You can see here it's not a big lower target, but finally showing a little bit of a negative pattern. Maybe has, call it 15, 20 bucks in downside, which percentage terms is not huge for this thing. So just watch this one closely. And the last one I'm going to show is probably the most important chart for us here locally. Is we're going to back out to a 2-year here on the Rand, and you can see the absolute explosion through that level around 1140, and showing that we're definitely probably going to see definitely we're most definitely going to see even lower levels in the Rand. We could get a correction back down toward 1140, but from there at some point we're probably going to break to lower levels. And the target on this breakout here is well over 12 Rand to the dollar. So just watch this one closely. This could be a real theme and a real shift that we see in our market over the near term, especially if the Rand manages to stay at these levels. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.